first weekend of fall, but it still feels like midsummer in southeastern Wisconsin, where tailgaters from up and down I-94 have gathered for a regional division rivalry with just over a week's worth of regular season baseball left on the schedule. Fox Saturday Baseball presents the defending World Series champion Chicago Cubs and the homestanding Milwaukee Brewers. The standings at the start of play this afternoon, the Chicago Cubs with a 5-game advantage in the Central over now second place St. Louis, and for the Brewers, it's looking more and more as though their best chance to play in the postseason will come via the wild card, where they're 2 back of that second spot. With that, we welcome you upstairs with Hall of Famer John Smoltz, Matt Vasgersian, Ken Rosenthal with us as well. You saw in the graphic a moment ago, John, the Cubs with a 5-game lead, a division best, a season best in the division, that is, seem to be playing their best baseball right now down the stretch.
Yeah, timing's pretty good. The first half, 2 games under 500. They weren't hitting on all cylinders. Well, in the second half, offensively, they picked up the slack. They just about first in every category. They're second only to the Cleveland Indians in wins. And you think about the Chicago Cubs, now this reminds you of the 2016 team that won the World Series. Pitching getting better, bullpen getting better, but really the offense is what's clicking.
For the Brewers, a team that was supposed to be in rebuild mode in 2017, they've arrived a little quicker than some may have thought. However, their postseason hopes took a big gut punch in 3 straight nights with 3 consecutive extra innings losses, and Craig Counsell, their managers, had to get very creative down the stretch.
Yeah, he was a gritty player, Craig Counsell, and I think his team kind of talks about how gritty they're going to be, and they're going to need, not to be an overstatement, this is the most important game they're going to play. They have to win this game to have a chance, as you mentioned, for the wild card, an outside chance of the division, but today will go a long way in their playoff hopes.
Always fun when the I-94 rivals get together, even more fun when they do so in the midst of a pennant race. We're back with the starting lineups and the opening pitch from Milwaukee next. Not a typo. Yes, 91 degrees in Milwaukee on the first weekend of fall. They're talking about record heat in the area. In fact, tomorrow at kickoff for the Packers and Bengals. They're talking about never having a game hotter in Packers history. It's football season. It still feels like we should be talking about the All-Star game. Pennant races are just as hot, including the one right here between the Cubs and Brewers for the NL Central and the National League wild card. Let's take a look at Joe Maddon's Chicago lineup. Cubs have taken the first two in this key four-game series. They'll lead it off today with John Jay, Chris Bryant, and Anthony Rizzo. Wilson Contreras at catcher batting cleanup. Albert Almora Jr. gets a start in center field. Addison Russell healthy again, 4 for 11 since coming off the DL. He's at shortstop hitting 6th. Javi Baez, Ian Happ, and Kyle Hendricks round things out for the defending World Series champs. It is the 28-year-old finesse specialist Brent Suter on the mound for Milwaukee this afternoon.
Yeah, don't change the channel if he's pitching because he works really quickly. And I think for those who have not gotten a chance to see him, sneaky quick. He doesn't throw 90 miles an hour, but the ball actually gets on the hitter quickly. Weak contact is his specialty. The hitters do not barrel up a lot of balls. And then he changes speeds a lot. He's basically a fastball, curveball, changeup guy, and he will get strikeouts in the upper tier even at 87 miles an hour.
John Jay digging in to lead things off. He's been hot of late. Starts play today with a modest 3-game hitting streak. All 3 of those games have contained multiple hit lines. And you can say that for the Cubs in general, John, as Suter pours in strike 2. The Cubs offense has clicked down the stretch when it matters most. This is when Chicago has stepped up and they're playing their best baseball of the season right now.
Yeah, and you can already see how quickly Mr. Suter works. And John Jay, not a lot of power against left-handers as far as home runs, but he will fight pitch off and pitch off till he gets one he likes. He has been a nice find for Joe Maddon.
And a wave and a miss by Jay. Yep, Suter redefines the term quick work.
Well, he does a good job of getting the ball and going. Here's his slider. And the one thing for him is you see the grip coming out of his hands. He will utilize his defense quite a bit. We talked about the weak contact, but he's not a guy that will go 6 or 7 innings for the most part. If he can give them 6 today, that would be outstanding for a bullpen that is almost on fumes. The Brewers have had to exhaust a lot of weapons in the last 3 games.
One quick out. Now it's the reigning MVP Chris Bryant, who has recaptured his MVP form since the All-Star break. And Bryant, like a lot of his mates, is red hot right now. 14 for his last 36. A swing and a fly ball out to shallow right center. Thames and Phillips negotiating. And it's the Korean import that makes the catch for out number 2.
The thing about Suter is the hitters don't get a lot of time to decipher what's coming because he works so quickly. And because he has almost a 7-foot extension, which means his stride length is one of the longer ones in baseball, it gives the illusion that his pitch is actually firmer than it is. His fastball will cut. He's got a sneaky changeup that kind of floats in a 75-mile-an-hour slash curveball slider that creates tilt.
2 gone for Anthony Rizzo now, and the Brewers play him in the exaggerated shift to the right side of the field. As you can see, the quick move of Brent Suter.
Yeah, there's the long stride, 6'5", slender guy, and a little bit of a different angle when he gets out of the stretch. We'll document that when that happens. Coming off really good games against the Pirates, back-to-back starts. They've utilized him out of the pen quite a bit this year, as well as starting.
5 innings of shutout baseball on Monday, part of a 3-0 Brewers shutout win, and he's in front of Anthony Rizzo, a ball and 2 strikes.
Now with 2 strikes on some hitters, he will elevate the fastball. I like that.
And Rizzo spanks it the other way into the corner for Ryan Braun, making for a breezy start to the afternoon for the left-hander Brent Suter. as close to a must-win situation as they've played it all year. Though it was Sogard, Walker, and Braun. A couple of 30-home run guys in Sean Thames, Vodar, Cia, Phillips, and Suter round things out against Kyle Hendricks and the Chicago Cubs this afternoon. Hendricks has been great, in particular since coming off the DL. A 7-5 record, a 3.22 ERA, and coming off his 7th win of the season last Saturday against the Cardinals when he took a shutout into the 8th inning.
Yeah, here's the scouting report. Movement, movement, movement. You know, they say location, location, location. Maddux-like. I'll explain that. Almost a mirror image of Greg Maddux. And then poker face. You never know what's going on with Kyle Hendricks because he shows nothing and gives nothing. So I love watching these two pitchers pitch today because we're so enamored with velocity. You're going to see two guys actually look to carve up the hitters with a cerebral type approach, and they're not going to blow anybody away, but they know how to pitch.
Eric Sogard ready to start things out for Milwaukee. Sogard, Walker, and Braun, and Hendricks is in for strike one.
I was actually thinking this could be one of our matchups in the year where it has the lowest combined velocity between two starters. So it's going to be top 5, I would think, for me. And you can see right away both are going to get a lot of action.
Well, you're right, and I'll tip my cap to you because you didn't even see this before you said top 5. Hendricks versus Suter is the 4th combined lowest velo matchup of the year.
Yeah, that's basically taking into effect all their pitches. And I would say that today this is a dying art. So is the knuckleballer. I don't know which is going to die out first. The low velocity pitcher, because we're so enamored with velocity. But Kyle Hendricks last year had every right to be in the Cy Young conversation, and this year he's getting close to that form.
Here's the switch hitter Neil Walker now, who takes strike one. Walker at 269, 14 home runs and 49 driven in. One of the late adds that the Brewers made down the stretch. And he's behind 0-2.
He's so still with his head. That's why I draw comparisons to Maddux. They throw similar stuff. Fastball, sinker that moves, curveball, changeups. The changeup's a signature pitch out of Kyle Hendricks.
Still 0-2 to Neil Walker.
And that injury he's coming off of, that tendonitis in the hand, why he struggled with the velocity early on. You got to be able to stay on that pitch and create movement with his hand. That's what he does, his fingers. That being much better, you're going to see his stuff pick up and late movement be better as well.
Yeah, lost 10 weeks on that DL stint with the hand injury as he misses up and into Walker. 1-2 now. Well, like most of his staff mates, Hendricks has gotten better in the second half of the season. This is something that's true on both sides of the scorecard for Chicago. As Walker lines the game's first base hit into right field. Well, this is what he's done, speaking of Hendricks, since coming off the DL as a part of our Gatorade Extra Effort player profile. Note the numbers in 11 starts. A 2.244 opponent's average, a 2.42 ERA. But if you cut his seasons into halves, his ERA after the All-Star break roughly half of what it was in April, May, and June.
Yeah, he's had 11 straight starts of 3 earned runs or less. The lineup for the Brewers, look, there's no mistaking, they are the basic modern day 3 true outcomes club. They lead all of baseball in that category percentage wise. They're going to have to be patient and be able to stay with the pitches and not try to do too much. Going the other way would help, because if you try to pull a changeup or try to pull velocity that has movement, you're going to do exactly what he wants, ground right to short or third. And you saw Walker waited as long as he could on that pitch and got a hit. So some of the things and attributes that may not make this lineup conducive to Hendricks is going to have to grind out at bats today.
0-1 the count to Ryan Braun. He's quickly behind 0-2. The signature pitch of Kyle Hendricks, the changeup, and it's been a lot better as his numbers have gotten better throughout the course of the summer.
He's got 2 different changeups, one that moves 2 different ways, and rarely do you see that out of many pitchers, but his ability to spin it in opposite ways. I think he's going to go change up right here.
In front of Braun, 0-2.
Well, he went inside with a fastball. So for Kyle Hendricks, look, if this team would do what he did last year, he's 22-1 over the last 2 years where they've scored 3 runs or more. He's 1-5 this year when they've scored 2 runs or less, and they've done that 12 times for him. Last year he was 0-7, and they did that in 7 games. So a little bit of a, he hasn't been on the run support side of his campaign this year.
That's a big number for you, isn't it? I notice you look at that every time we do a game together. What does a guy do when he gets 3 or less runs of support?
Because you're going to run into those. But 12 games is a lot. I mean, he's only had 22 on the year. And the other number I love looking at is what does a guy do and how does he pitch with the lead and behind and the score tied? Well, Kyle has pitched his best baseball when he's actually been behind in the score.
The next 0-2 to Braun, loses his bat on a roller foul. And everybody looks like they're all right.
Yeah, that's a large part of the bat going into the stands. It broke off at the handle. A little two-seam action bears in on him, and just that bat had to be a little wounded beforehand, in my opinion. And then it goes flying into the stands. Luckily hit an empty seat first. And a little fella.
Bats and balls flying into the stands. It's been a big story in baseball this week after the scary moment at Yankee Stadium when a young fan was hit by a line drive, and there's a lot of new discussion at the league office regarding extending the protective netting beyond just around the home plate area. And we see examples of that all too often. Still 0-2 to Ryan Braun. 1 out, 1 on in the Brewers half of the first, and Braun strokes a base hit into shallow left center field. It's a nice plate appearance with 2 strikes.
He's getting some bad wood. That's 2 broken bats, and he's sitting there going, you got to be kidding me. But that's how you got to have the approach. You got to have this approach against him. This one's off the end of the bat. The other one was on the handle, and this one was that changeup I was talking about. And so 2 bats, 2 broken bats, but a hit. He'll take that as a hitter.
I think the look on Ryan's face was, how does a guy that throws 83 miles an hour break 2 of my bats? So 2 runners aboard now for Travis Shaw, the first-year Brewer who's hit safely in 7 of his last 8 and has enjoyed a career year in his first in Milwaukee. First pitch to him is a fly ball the other way for Jay. And in a tricky Sunfield today is there to make the catch for route number 2. So with 2 out and 2 on, let's take a look at the Lincoln Motor Company keys to the game today.
Yeah, for the Cubs, keep applying the heat, meaning get runners on, create as much pressure as you can on the Brewers. And the Brewers' 2-out steam, I think, is important. They've got to stop the Cubs from 2-out runs, and then they have to find a way to get 2-out runs offensively on themselves. It's been a very difficult last 3 games. They have been an eyelash away from winning all 3 of those games. You know that kind of eats at you. And so the more pressure the Cubs can put on them, the better it's going to be for the Cubs.
Here's Eric Thames with 2 runners aboard now. Thames has been good down the stretch. 11 for his last 32. That's a 7 RBI span as well in his last 11 games. And it's been a season where the bell curve on Eric Thames' productivity has been rather exaggerated. A record-setting month of April in which he hit 11 home runs and took the league by storm. Swooned between May and August, hit just 207 over that period, and has really bounced back to finish strong in September.
25 homers off of right-handers this year. That's a big portion of his home run total, and a lot of those off of fastballs.
Out in front that time, and he's 2-1 now against Hendricks. Darnell Cole's the hitting coach here in Milwaukee. He's had a couple of projects that you could consider a huge success if you count Thames among them. Domingo Santana, who's a non-starter today, a breakout campaign for him. And Thames hits the hole into right field. They're going to try it with Walker. The throw from Happ is going to be too late, and Milwaukee's on the board first once again in this one.
Two-out 2-out RBIs are huge, and Thames have been struggling with runners in scoring position well under 200, so that's a big start to their game when they're going up against a tough pitcher. And you see the shift they employ, but he beats it, and Happ has a chance to throw the runner out at home, but it's up the line. And the Brewers again getting on the board. That helps ease some tension, but as the game progresses, the more runs they can put on the board would make their manager feel a lot better about how he's going to use his bullpen today.
Yeah, Cubs came back yesterday after staking Milwaukee to an early 3-0 lead. So now it'll be Stephen Vogt looking to add on in this first inning. 3 singles here for the Brewers. And Vogt, the 2-time All-Star, would love a big base hit. Just 5 for his last 34. That's a .147 batting average here down the stretch.
You know, there's an old saying that hit it how they throw it. You know, if it's soft tossing, sometimes you got to get soft hits. Sometimes you got to find your way. You can't go up there swinging for the fences against a guy like Kyle Hendrick. He has given up some home runs, but when he's got the ball down, you've got to basically take what he gives you. For the most part in this inning, that's the production that Brewers have gotten.
And a strike starts Stephen Vogt. Vogt, another late ad for the Brewers down the stretch. Almost amazingly, a 2-time All-Star placed on waivers in Oakland in June. And quickly behind 0-2. You know, I'll give you a number on the Cubs, which is one that Joe Madden loves. There's only one team in baseball that has a better record when the opponent scores first, and that's the LA Dodgers. And Vogt swings and misses to end the inning. 3 singles, however, puts Milwaukee on the board first at home this afternoon, and Eric Thames, the man in the first, driving in the game's first score. On the board first with a 2-out RBI single, so an advantage for Brent Suter to go back to work. And as we say hello in earnest to Ken Rosenthal for the first time this afternoon, Kenny, we got to get to this quickly because Brent Suter does not give us a lot of time for idle chit chat. But give us some context as to how quickly he works, the pace between pitches.
Matt, Suter is the anti-Pedro Baez. 18.4 seconds between pitches. If he had enough innings to qualify for the league leaders, he'd be in front by a comfortable margin. He told me I'm not trying to quick pitch hitters. I'm just trying to pitch quick.
And a problem, according to his manager, that serves as an advantage to the Cubs on advantage to the Brewers rather, on multiple occasions. He'll get a swing and miss that might not have occurred because a hitter's not ready. He'll get a take that might have occurred because a hitter's not ready. Sometimes a hitter won't have a chance to absorb a sign from a third base coach, and Suter's already into his delivery to the plate.
Yeah, and he's funky enough with the hitters trying to process what he's going to do next. They don't give him enough time, right? So his combination is really good. He only has 3 pitches, but they complement each other really well. And of course, that stride length makes it a little more difficult for the hitter to perceive the ball. Just to give you some context, the average stride length in baseball, 6.15. He's 6.94. And the average velocity in baseball on a 4-seam fastball is 93.1. And he's 86.
2-2 to Wilson Contreras, and there's Chicago's first base hit of the ball game. Whether that's what he was going for or not, Contreras called for an equipment timeout, controlled the pace of the at-bat, and then singled into the opposite field.
Well, he tried to go in. His ball will cut. You see that natural cut right there, and trying to pull that ball would have resulted in an out. Going the other way, he does a nice job in going to the right field side of the field and getting a hit, benefiting, not overswinging.
So now Albert Almora Jr., who has been red hot down the stretch. 9 for 18 with 5 extra base hits and 10 RBIs in his last 9 games with an at-bat. Leadoff hitter aboard for Chicago. And it's a ball and a strike to Albert Almora.
You know, with him on the mound, everybody's trying to figure out why the game's so slow. Well, players have learned to play slower. Back in the day, guys didn't leave the box, and pitchers pitched more effectively like this, and the game times reflected it. There will be some changes coming to Major League Baseball very soon, and some rule changes to incorporate the idea to help speed up the game. Yes, we have more pitchers than ever before in a game per team, but there's still a concept of being able to do your job a little bit quicker than what's taking place in an average baseball game. So this young man would put smiles on the face of the commissioner, who is concerned about the length of time on average going up, and more pitchers and more hitters will follow based on the rule changes, pitch clock, stuff like that.
Almora with a pitch that jams him, dumps a single into left, and here come the Cubs in their half of the second with back-to-back singles to open the inning. A reminder, today's telecast is sponsored by Budweiser, who reminds you to give a damn, don't drive drunk, and by Hyundai.
Well, as a pitcher, all you can control for the most part is how hard they hit the ball. That's the goal of a pitcher. When you release a ball, you certainly don't want him to barrel it up. And he has been very successful on the year in all the new terminologies that we have in exit velocity, well below league average. And you saw those 2 hits not hit firm at all. And that's what is an asset for Brent Suter. Yes, 2 hits were hit, but over the course of the season, they won't be getting hits on pitches like that for the most part.
Here's the 2016 All-Star shortstop Addison Russell, activated off the 10-day DL last week, and did so by coming back and slugging his first ever pinch hit home run. Missed over a month with a right foot sprain, and then later diagnosed plantar fasciitis, something that might not sound like a big deal to the lay fan.
It's horrible,
but it's something that has sidelined everybody from Mark McGwire to Joe DiMaggio over the history of our game. When you had that, were you closing or starting?
When I had that?
Yeah. When didn't you have it? Let's put it that way.
It's hard not to get it, but the remedy is not fun. Even though I love golf, rolling your foot on a golf ball is not something that is very fun when you've got that, but that's how you get rid of it.
As jerk foul.
Your partner in crime in the morning, he almost couldn't do shows on MLB Central. He had it so bad. Mark DeRosa.
I've been told, and I'm lucky to never have had to deal with this, but it's a debilitating thing because what can you do if you can't walk as a baseball player?
Yeah, you really have to get in there and dig it. I mean, it has to be something that you have to bite on a towel and wear the pain to get rid of the pain.
Russell slaps it to first. Walker, and the relay not in time. Arcia had to bobble and be mindful of Almora, who is coming at him pretty hot, and the Cubs will have runners at the corners with one away.
Yeah, ideally you'd love for your first baseman to be able to get back because it's such a tough play for a left-handed pitcher. Any pitcher trying to cover a double play right here. The low throw kind of changed the relay. But Walker makes the play. He gets the pitch he wants. He gets the ground ball, possible double play. But as a left-hander going over there, trying to position yourself to field a throw, very difficult. Watch how he couldn't get his. That's where you run the risk of getting your ankle or foot stepped on as a pitcher because you just can't get the timing of locate the bag and the throw. So ideally, if the first baseman can get there and get back, that's the best remedy. But the pitcher knows he's worked on that all spring training. Not an easy in-game action play to make.
Brewers have a fine combination up the middle today, and as they have all year. Only 7 teams have turned more double plays, and of course that's one of those good news bad news stats to be on the leaderboard. The bad news is there are a lot of base runners aboard for you to give the chances to. The good news is that they have executed.
Well, Suter could execute these pitches either way up or in the dirt against Baez. We saw Baez have a at bat against Jeffers in the 9th, and the ball did not hit the dirt. He made contact, got a big hit for the Cubs. He is a free swinger, but a bad ball hitter. So you have to get it higher than his hands and almost in the dirt with 2 strikes, and you can expose him.
Ball and a strike to count to Javier Baez, who has collected a career best 124 hits this year. 3 for 7 in the first 2 games of the series, and John talked about the big at bat Thursday in the opener, and the Cubs were down to their final strike. Baez kept the game alive, tied it late, and then Bryant won it with the home run in extra innings. In fact, let's take you back to Thursday. The Brewers approached this series opener thinking if we can sweep the Cubs, we're in business tied atop the post. Baez broke their hearts here, driving in half to tie it, and then again Bryant with the home run to win it. Cubs win yesterday after trailing 3-zip, and Milwaukee has its back up against the wall this afternoon.
And good pitch selection there, just a little bit higher, and Baez can't get the barrel to it. So he got him to swing at a pitch. This is one of the rare guys in the league where the variance of up and down is big. So you have a lot of room to go to. It's very enticing to go up and get him to swing and miss. Now if they go down, you got to bounce it like that.
Big strikeout for Suter, 2 away in the second.
There's not a lot of hitters. Now he has raw power and has made a lot of adjustment, but that's the one downside for Baez, especially when the pressure in the postseason. That pitch is nowhere close to the plate. That's how you get him out. If that pitch is 2 or 3 inches up and over the plate, he probably makes contact. And Suter has a chance to get out of this unscathed with first and third. Well, first and second, nobody out.
Big plate appearance here for Ian Happ. Chicago has done a great job all year manufacturing with 2 out in an inning as Happ lays off ball 1. In fact, only the Dodgers and Astros have scored a higher percentage of runs with 2 out in an inning than Chicago. And Happ delivers. Three singles for the Brewers get them on the board in the bottom of the first. 3 singles for Chicago evens the score in the second.
It's just evidence of a team that's going good and hot and feeling comfortable, because with the pitcher on deck, yes, first and third, but there is a base open, and I'm sure with that changeup he was trying to get different results. Happ has struggled against sliders against left-handed pitching, and you don't want to show that slider too early if you don't have to. And I would have assumed he would have gone to that slider had he gotten a strike or two on Happ. But 2 outs. That was one of the things we talked about in the open that was going to be keys to the game. Already coming in twice.
First and second with a run and 2 away for Kyle Hendricks, who beats that one foul, and it's 1-1. I mean, this series is not even 2.5 games old, and the Cubs already have 4 2-out RBI hits.
Yeah, they've done a great job battling, fouling pitches off, and getting big hits.
Hendricks with a hot shot back to Suter.
That got him good, by the way.
And Brent's walking gingerly back to the home dugout. Wireless, something to smile about. And by Wells Fargo, building better every day. A beautiful day on the lake. Beautiful day in downtown Milwaukee, all around southeastern Wisconsin. A hot one on the field, over 90 degrees at game time. And Brent Suter gets a big out, though he did kind of hobble off the mound as he retired the side after yielding that run to tie the score. So it's Kyle Hendricks back to work. We'll see if the heat becomes an issue on the field with the players. We've already seen a couple of guys toweling off. I haven't seen the ammonia bucket or the frozen cabbage leaves yet, but maybe that's still to come.
Have you ever seen the wrongful drinking of the ammonia bucket versus the water? Oh,
no.
That is painful.
No, I've never seen that.
Yeah, now it's completely marked. They're never going to make that mistake again. But they put it in a cooler, and then they dump the towel in the cooler to basically cool off the pitcher.
Okay.
It still's got the spigot, and so if you're not paying attention, you hit the button and you pour out. It was laughable, but not really.
Who makes that mistake? Guys are drinking bottled water now as Orlando Arcia takes a strike.
Yeah, but you only had options of going to the cooler, the Gatorade cooler, or the water cooler, and there'd be a third one there, and if you weren't paying attention, didn't taste good.
I'm trying to visualize you and Glavine and Maddox going to like a trough with a big ladle, like a scene out of Blazing Saddles. 3 balls and a strike is a count to Orlando Arcia. Leading off the second, Arcia, Phillips, and Suter in a 1-1 ball game early on. on the ground right at the second baseman Javi Baez, and there's one gone for Kyle Hendricks. And I want to say hello to Kenny again on this one, because I know certain matchups that get John Smoltz excited when it's two craftsmen on the mound, guys that know how to pitch. And I know about matchups that get Ken Rosenthal excited as a Penn grad. You've got a Harvard guy and a Dartmouth guy on the mound in this one, Kenny, and the rest of us feel quite unsubstantial.
Well, Matt, first time since 1935, according to Stats LLC, that two Ivy Leaguers are facing each other in the same major league game. Now, the records are not exact. It might have happened one other time somehow, but first time since 1935, as far as we know. Harvard versus Dartmouth. These two also faced each other in college.
Better yet, there's an opposite field base hit for Brett Phillips, who's really displaying some plus skills with the bat in his hands. We know what a good defender he is, but he's really come on as a major league hitter at the end of the year.
Yeah, he's done a nice job filling in, and that's the approach. I'm telling you, after watching Maddox and Glavine my whole career and seeing hitters get themselves out, they went up there thinking, oh, they don't throw very hard, and I'm gonna pull, I'm gonna hit the gap, and they did themselves a huge disservice and would go back 1 for 4, 0 for 4. And that's the approach you got to have off these two pitchers. If he hangs one middle in and you're able to turn on it, great.
Bunting is Suter down to second base, and the home plate umpire is calling that a foul ball. Chris Guccione saying, never mind, come on back and do it again.
The Cubs have unique defense against pitchers who bunt, and you know right there, see the movement and just that late movement of trying to pull the ball to Rizzo. He hits the plate, and then it's in the batter's box on the opposite side, and you could see that was initially a pretty good call. That started out fair but ended up foul when Contreras picked it up.
It's Bryant crashing in from third, thinking the bunt plays on again. 0-1 the count to Suter with 1 out and 1 on in the second.
Now, old school would teach you that if the third baseman's on your throat, you got to slash the ball, pull it back, don't swing very hard, and get it by him if he's too close.
You know, the Cubs don't do it as much this year, but last year, you're talking about some of the stunt defense that they do when a batter is bunting. Right-handed batter bunts, and you'll see the second baseman field and Anthony Rizzo crash. Throw down from Contreras is not in time to get Phillips. And they're going to call for a review. At least Javi Baez wants one, but Javi wants everything reviewed, so it seems. And he's got the quickest hands in the division, if not on the planet.
Yeah, Russell made that tag. He also wanted to see it, but I can tell you right now, I've watched not every game, but a lot of games, and Baez is pretty on when he wants a replay. This is Russell getting to the bag, making the tag. Great arm by Contreras. He pulls the throw, but Russell gets there in time, and they may.
That's not the best look, though. We're showing you everything we've got. And that's what they're going to be looking at in New York as well as they review this one.
No, they've changed their mind at the last minute.
They're not asking for the review.
And in counsel's going to come out and say he absolutely did ask for it and want them to utilize that, because that would be using one of their replays. So he's not going to like the answer he gets in return.
Awfully tough to get a definitive look at this. That's as close as what we have.
Anytime you get higher up on the arm, you would figure that the wrist is going to get there. The only time you have success tagging further up the body is you get down the line and get their legs before they actually touch the bag and their head first slide.
Well, opponents have taken a lot of liberties on the Cubs this year, and we've talked all about that the past couple of years. John Lester's well-documented issues with opposing base runners. He's not the only one on the staff. Jake Arrieta as well. And there's a strike to Suter to put him behind 1-2.
Suter, with limited times, looks like he can handle the bat fairly well now with one out. Just try to drive him in himself.
Comebacker for Hendricks. Well, they had Phillips way off the bag, but Kyle plays it safe on the hitter, and there are 2 away with Phillips still at second.
Well, here's the area that Kyle Hendricks has been very stingy. Now, we didn't see it in the first inning, but coming into this game, his runners in scoring position was 159 against. He's been real stingy, and with 2 outs, he gets to about a 125 clip. So that's making your pitches when you have to, and runners being in that spot.
In good company on that list too, trailing only Gio Gonzalez, who's having a career year, and Clayton Kershaw. So now Eric Sogard. Sogard ground to second to start the home half of the first. Switch hitter Neil Walker waits on deck. Craig Counsell loading up as left-handed a lineup as he can, and now Contreras wants to come out and chat.
Now, this is one thing you're going to see a lot with the Cubs and Contreras. We saw it the other night where they were concerned about a variety of things, whether it was Braun at second base, given location, changing their signs, whatever. But there's a lot of meetings, young catchers, and a lot of meetings in the games that certain people think are unneeded and need to change, and I can assure you that will change also in the future with baseball.
With Thursday's game, the opener of this series, was the greatest example toward what you're talking about. As a 1-0 home to Sogard's in for a strike. There were probably, and I'm guessing, close to 10 discussions, pitcher and catcher. There were 5 reviews in that game.
Yep.
And it went extra innings. A ball and a strike to count to Sogard.
I know we ask a lot of catchers today, and there are a lot of young catchers, but you're just going to have to do a better job, pitcher catcher, in being able to decode your signs and have signs on the mound you can give the catcher to change without him coming out. It just means more work, but you got to get it done so that we can stop the delays constantly. In the one at bat, there were 4 meetings, one at bat. That can't happen, and it won't happen in the future once certain rules get implemented to change the thought of that drag time on the game. And
ball and 2 strikes to Eric Sogard.
You know, used to be on the mound and you would use your glove. A lot of pitchers would use their glove, wipe their chest to change or add the sign they didn't like, or go to their pant leg and subtract. And so you would get a series of signs. If you didn't like that pitch, rather than going through a bunch of series of signs again, you would just add or subtract and get to the pitch you want.
Still 1-2 to Sogard. Well, you know more about this than most. The paranoia that seeps in, especially with a runner at second, as is the case here, and the thought that everybody knows what we're doing. There's an Apple Watch in the dugout. There's cameras looking at us from everywhere. There's so much paranoia. It's the equivalent in the NFL of the coordinator constantly covering up his face with a play card.
And I get all that. I do. And you have to be proactive. And if it means changing it every 3 innings, you change it every 3 innings. You just have to be able to, because that is part of the game. When they're sitting out there, that's why my biggest pet peeve was letting a guy walk from first to second in a non-1-run game. I don't want him out there. I don't want him seeing any of that.
To a full count now. And Sogard sends a drive out to center field. That one's carrying and moving Almora back to the wall, where he makes a rather casual Willie Mays Hayes style grab. No damage done against Hendricks in the second. Top of the Cubs order in a 1-1 tie starting the third. Back with Hall of Famer John Smoltz, Ken Rosenthal, Matt Vasgersian. 1-1 early on here today as the shadows start to slowly creep in at Miller Park, and a quick 0-2 count to John Jay. We're talking to Craig Counsell about the conditions here earlier today. Given the unusual nature of the start time, 1 o'clock starts, not unusual, but noon local time make for a little different feel in the ballpark. And Craig's of the mind that the shadows look a lot more disconcerting on TV than they are when you're out there playing in this park. And I'm not sure if that has to do with the fact that Craig is used to the way the sun shines in Wisconsin as a native of the area, or if in fact there's some merit to what he discusses. Jay with a bouncer back up the middle. It gets past Suter and on into center field.
Never forget what Joe Maddon said. Seeing a player from afar, not realizing how good he is until you have him on your own team. And John Jay has been excellent for the Cubs. He battles, he goes up the middle, and he makes pitchers work. John Jay's at bat yesterday, I don't know if it was 15 at pitch at bat, but that at bat led to the Cubs runs and wearing down the starting pitcher. And it was an epic at bat that turned into a hit, that turned into runs, and he's done everything Joe Maddon could ask for.
There's Chris Bryant now with a runner out there. Bryant flied to right in his first try today. Take a look at the season line there. 292, 28, 70 with an OPS of over 940. I think folks have to stop the discussion that Chris Bryant has had a down year, quote unquote. Throw to first, very close, and Jay just back.
Yeah, I think much of that lack of production as a team as a whole in scoring runs, the 70 RBIs obviously low for Bryant, but almost. Suter was anticipating. I got him. Nope.
Ball and no strikes account to Chris Bryant. You know, there's always pressure on a reigning MVP to recreate that season. And while Bryant will fall a little bit short in batting average with runners in scoring position, all the other numbers are in check. Home runs down a little bit, RBIs down, but he's still been one of the best players in the National League this year. And Kenny, we kind of forget the fact that Chris Bryant is still learning in Major League Baseball.
Yes, Matt, he is still evolving as a hitter. The difference this year, his slugging is a little bit down, but he has the 8th best on-base percentage in baseball. And he told me yesterday, this is something he is really proud of. He is growing into a more complete hitter. Strikeouts are down, walks are up, contact is up. It's all coming together in an even bigger way than it did last season.
Yeah, and that's a trend that started with his rookie year. From 2015 to today, strikeout numbers coming down, walk numbers coming up. Yeah, the perfect kind of growth that the Cubs or anybody else would like to see. Goes down and gets a breaking ball, serves it into center field for Phillips, a routine play for route number 1.
You see out of the stretch kind of a unique set position for Suter. Being taller, he almost squats down and he sees a curveball that he's able to get. See how he squats down and creates a different angle for the hitter out of the stretch and then goes. Curveball gets him out front. And again, you can see why exit velocity off of this guy has been funky and low and successful.
Here's Anthony Rizzo now as another check-in throw goes over to first base. 1 out, 1 on here in the third for Rizzo, who lined out in the first and who has been undeterred against left-handed pitching. Line to second, gobbled up by Sogard, and they double off Jay. A fine play by Eric Sogard, not only taking away the base hit, but turning it into a pair of outs to end the inning. Neil Walker, Ryan Braun, and Travis Shaw in the home half of inning number 3. A 1-1 tie early on in Milwaukee today. Kai Hendricks has given up the run on 4 singles so far this afternoon. And this from a guy last time around gave up a total of 1 run on 6 hits over 7 2/3 as he's in for a strike 1 and 1 on Walker.
It's amazing to me what hitters fear, and typically you would say, okay, I fear the 98-mile-an-hour fastball or the 93-mile-an-hour slider, but what they would tell you is they fear a pitcher like Kyle Hendricks getting low pitches and the ability to get pitches off of the corner of the plate because it moves so much. That pitch right there earlier it was called, it wasn't the exact same pitch, but it was called a strike, and you saw Walker go, oh no, he cannot have that pitch because I can't hit that pitch.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Neil Walker. And a swing and a miss.
And see, that first pitch right there set up the last one, because when you get a strike called and a hitter looks at the umpire as going, really? Watch how much this ball moves. It starts in that same place and ends up outside, so the hitter goes, I am in trouble, I must swing at it, and they don't come up with it. So that's why pitchability and being able to throw the ball to spots still trumps velocity, even though velocity you can get away with more in the strike zone. And that's the era we're entering. Guys who throw hard but don't know how to hit their spots consistently enough because they're not ready yet.
So now base is empty with 1 gone for Ryan Braun. A base hit for Braun his first time up. And a player that's come through with some very big moments against the Chicago Cubs in his career. The franchise all-time home run leader, and by a long shot the longest tenured member of the active roster. He's been through the wars with the I-94 rival. There's a little roller out to shortstop for Addison Russell. Quick exchange, and quickly there are 2 gone. maybe one of Braun's signature moments in one of the most electrifying games ever played here in this ballpark back in 2008. Both teams in chase mode, and the Brewers hit the home stretch with a lot of momentum. Braun hit a big go-ahead 2-run home run. CC Sabathia, who was a horse that year after being acquired by the Brewers, pitched a complete game 4-hitter, and the Brewers went to the postseason as a wild card in 08.
Kind of miss those days. Kind of miss those CC 9-inning get on my back.
Yeah, they're gone.
They're gone. Way gone.
It is the age of matchups. They used to call it 5 and dive when a guy failed to go longer than 5 innings. It's not quite a derogatory term anymore. There's a base hit for Travis Shaw. He's aboard with 2 gone.
Well, a lot of ththings that we understood as pitchers. Yes, it's much more difficult to get the same hitter out the 3rd time versus the 1st time, and you focus on that. You know, Hendricks 242 the 1st time through, 224 the 2nd, 252. You know why there's not much variance there? Because he knows how to pitch to the hitters and set them up. But guys who don't, and ironically Suter, who's newer to the game, his 1st, 2nd, and 3rd at bats go way up. That's why you rarely see him pitch past the 5th inning. But it's not because he's not capable. It's just he hasn't been put in spots to do it. No one teaches that anymore.
Ball and no strikes to Eric Thames, who singled in that Brewers run with 2 gone in the 1st. Contreras wants this on the corner, and Thames lines it into right. Happ in the shadows to end the inning. Nothing comes of the 2-out single. We've played 2.5. Still a 1-1 ball game. Today's telecast is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Tide. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide. Should I do it? Should I take the bait? It's Tide. 1-1. Sometimes this stuff writes itself, America. Top of the 4th inning, and Brent Suter back to work for the Brewers. It'll be Wilson Contreras, Albert Almora Jr., and Addison Russell for Chicago. And a strike to Contreras, who singled and scored Chicago's run in the 2nd. Brewers on the board first. 3 singles and a run in the 1st for them. 3 singles and a run in the 2nd for Chicago, and that's where we stand here, top of the 4th. So given Suter's track record, the fact that he is not generally a guy who hangs around into the 6th and 7th innings, you have to use your information nuggets wisely with him. In fact, these are numbers that Craig Counsell keep his eyes on for sure. First time through, very good. Not so much second time, and third time around, you got the hook ready to go. And that's okay. That's not meant to be a knock. Two and two.
It's not, but the trends in baseball are disappointing to me because it's not sustainable. And the Milwaukee Brewers have used every resource they have to get to this point. But the tank's almost empty. I mean, the bullpen has been exhausted. And you've got to find ways to get pitchers to pitch 6 and 7 innings, period. It works in a short vacuum.
Little pop off of first base for Walker, and there's one away.
And what I mean by that, it works in short sprints, like 1 year, maybe 2 years tops. But you burn guys out, and we're not developing enough pitchers to know how to get through a lineup twice, 3 times, and not utilize all your weapons in the first inning. It'd be like telling a race car driver, don't worry about your gas you got in your car. Just go as fast as you can, as long as you can. You're going to run out of gas. You got to be able to utilize what this game. That's why you can't have 5 Brent Suters.
Here's Albert Almora now.
But a couple in your rotation are great. I mean, sure, everyone would like to have 5 Noah Syndergaards, but good luck finding that. And it's just the different era we're in. It's kind of the same way in basketball. Everyone's trying to find the next 2 great shooters to put on every team.
Quickly 0-2 the count to Albert Almora. Well, I'm sure Brent Suter is aware of that. I mean, he, after all, as we've talked about, Ivy League guy. And as we continue talking about the Milwaukee left-hander Ken Rosenthal, a guy with a pretty interesting background.
To say the least, Matt. 31st round pick out of Harvard in 2012. His signing bonus was just $1,500. Now, he graduated with a degree in environmental science and public policy. And his plan, if he wasn't drafted, was to go work for Teach for America for 2 years, or after that, go to medical school, or perhaps enter the green sector. He is very serious about the environment and protecting the environment. Doesn't eat off paper plates or use plastic silverware, brings his own Tupperware, reusable silverware. That's him. And one other note, he also takes, Matt, very quick showers, 1 minute 30 to 2 minutes. He's all about conserving water.
Wow.
So what you're saying, Kenny, is he doesn't have many options outside of pitching.
Look, any of us with daughters at home would love to have Brent Suter spend a little time with them to implore them as to the benefits of a quicker shower. 2 gone quickly here for Addison Russell, who reached on a fielder's choice in the second.
Glad you finished that thought.
How'd we get to that? It's the first thing I thought of when I heard dude takes a 1.5-minute shower. I'll pay him to come to my house as a consultant. Ball and a strike to Russell. And he strokes that one into left center field, a 2-out base hit. Just about a week and a half away from baseball's postseason. Get ready for the excitement, drama, and all the thrilling plays of the 2017 Major League Baseball postseason beginning October 3rd. Go to MLB.com/postseason for a full schedule. And Javi Baez digs in now with a runner at first. And there are some postseason clinch scenarios that are out there in Major League Baseball today on the schedule. Baez obliges with a first pitch swing. We'll get to those clinch scenarios a little bit later on today as nothing comes of the 2-out single. Still a 1-1 ball game in Milwaukee. Okay. Couple of crafty starters who have dictated the pace in this one so far. A 1-1 game as we enter the home half of the fourth, and it's a pleasure to be joined by Brewers right-hander Chase Anderson, who takes some time with us in the home dugout. Chase, good afternoon to you. Thanks for the visit. So we talk a lot about your club, your staff, and what you've accomplished in a season where not much was expected from the Brewers. You guys are still chasing a postseason spot, but give me the big picture take on the 2017 season for your team.
Yeah, I think, a lot of guys coming into the season, we expected a lot out of ourselves, but the outside sources were like, it's kind of going through a rebuilding process, year number 2. But we know what we had in the clubhouse. We're kind of playing meaningful games in September, and it's been a lot of fun this season to see guys do well, and it's not just been one person. It's been a collective group, and we're trying to be good here for a long time.
Chase, I always ask a lot of pitchers these days, with the game changing in so many different ways, philosophically and trends, how do you accumulate your information and process?
Yeah, it's the game's changing, that's for sure. I mean, if you get 6 innings out of a starting pitcher, that's kind of all you really need these days. Obviously, we like to go longer than that, and I know, John, you pitched a long time in the bullpen and starting role. So I think now you got to change. Thanks, Walt. Nowadays, you got to change your approach, and you're really trying to get to the lineup, once or twice, and hopefully the third time. So the game's definitely changing. The pace of the game's changing. I think as starting pitcher, I'm just trying to go as deep as I can and pitch till the ball's taken out of my hand.
It must be a nice feeling as we watch Stephen Vogt strike out 1 away here in the fourth. It's got to be a nice feeling, Chase, to know that the guys behind you, your bullpen, which is a group largely anonymous to fans outside of Milwaukee, has been really good. Despite the setbacks and extra innings the past few days, this has been a very good group for you. Yeah,
it's been nice. When if I can get to the 6th, 7th, I can really count on Swarzak and Knable and Jeffers and Barnes and Haters come onto the scene and just thrown amazing. So those guys have done an outstanding job, and to have a group of guys like that behind you, that if you have the lead coming out to the 6th and 7th, the game's pretty much going to be shut down by those guys.
As a broadcaster, I love coming to the stadium. It's a beautiful stadium. But as a pitcher, how do you have to pitch differently? Because this really is such a hitter's paradise. Do you adjust at all to the way that you would pitch here in your home ballpark versus others?
It's a good question. I try not to think too much about the elements. I try just to pitch my game, but there are certain things that you
throws up the line, and Rizzo has to make a nifty tag to get Orlando Arcia.
There are certain things that I've tried to evolve over the years of adding the cutter, throwing the curveball more in fastball counts, trying to really get to the top of the zone when I'm ahead in the count. That's really helped me out. Get some swing and misses and get some pop-ups. But every park's different. This park's definitely more hitter friendly than pitcher friendly. So I think the biggest thing is just try to stay off the barrel of the bat and really hit the edges of the plate.
2 gone, bases empty now for Brett Phillips. So give me your take on this, Chase, because I don't know if it's becoming urban legend or if it's really true that with the roof open and the panels open on a hot day like today, the conventional wisdom the last decade or so has been that the ball really runs here. It jumps a little more so than when the roof is closed. Has that been your experience as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think you got when the panels are open and the roof's open, the wind kind of swirls in here and it hits the back and just kind of shoots back out. So the day games like this, it's obviously a great atmosphere, but the ball does travel a little bit farther than it would in a night game with the roof closed and the panels closed. So yeah, it's definitely ball flies pretty good here.
2 balls and a strike to count to Brett Phillips, batting with the bases empty and 2 gone. Pitcher spot due up next, and so far it is Brent Suter standing in the on-deck circle. As Phillips one-hops it to Rizzo. Underhand toss to Hendricks is not in time. Phillips beats it out.
Well, that's big in more than one ways. For the obvious, he gets on base, but he also gets Suter up to the plate. Resets the lineup if Suter can't keep it going. Tremendous hustle, and I think just a lag of Hendricks appreciating the speed of Phillips coming off the mound. It's no hitter should beat you to the first base if you're ready for it. It's the shortest distance. But if you take any second at all and don't take a direct path, then the hitter's going to beat the pitcher.
A terrific clean look at Phillips, clearly getting there a half step better than Hendricks. So a 2-out single, and now Brent Suter digs in with a runner on. Hey Chase, before we let you go, something I'm always curious about when the Cubs play here in Milwaukee and how you guys as Brewers players feel about it. This place turns into Wrigley Field South. We know the Cubs fans travel great. We know it's a passionate fan base, but there are times when it feels Wrigley Field North, that is. There are times when it feels like it's a Cubs home game here. Do you guys get that same sense, and does it bug you at all?
You know, at times it does. You know, obviously they do travel well, and they've been playing well the last 3 or 4 seasons. You know, winning the World Series and you know, playing good baseball. But there's times that there is a lot of Cubs fans, and sometimes there's more Cubs fans than Brewers fans, and that just happens at times. You know, our fans are great here. We love our fans, but this place is, you know, who wouldn't want to come watch a game here? The venue here is beautiful. It's a great place to watch a game. I think the biggest thing for us is we got to just try to get our fans into the game. We got to get a lead here and try to win this game and get our fans on their feet and get some noise made. Because when this place is loud, we feel the energy and we play well.
You got it. And maybe hope for a little help from the Padres, who play the Rockies later on today. Chase, we appreciate the visit. Best of luck tomorrow, wrapping up this series and the rest of the way going forward.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it, guys.
Chase Anderson joining us here in the bottom half of the 4th. 2 gone, runner aboard, and a 1-2 count on Brent Suter. He makes a good point, you know. I mean, Cubs fans will come here and spend money too. It's almost a compliment that they want to come here and watch games as often as they do in this ballpark. I think Cubs fans enjoy the experience here the same way they do watching baseball at Wrigley Field.
No doubt. This is a great ballpark for a fan, for us in the booth.
Yeah, maybe they can't even get a ticket these days.
Right.
Wrigley being as small and intimate as it is. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Suter. "11 singles in this game so far as Suter hangs around.
Yeah, and pretty much the way I thought they would get the singles. You're going to have to battle the pitcher who is basically trying to keep the ball off the barrel of the bat. Hasn't been a lot of sharp hit balls, but the approach you got to have going into the game. Make the opposing pitcher battle and throw as many pitches as you can and take the mistake if they're able to give you one.
Suter giving Hendricks a pretty good run for his money here. Here's the next 2-2 pitch. And Suter tried to hold up, does so successfully on the appeal down to third, and it'll go to a full count.
Kept it back. While he would be on the mound, he'd want that for strike 3.
I think that's a fair statement. Yeah.
I tried to sell it every time. After a while, it just gets old trying to sell every check swing. He went.
Phillips goes, and this time Suter goes around. A couple of strikeouts in a scoreless inning for Kyle Hendricks. close to a similar line as to Monday at Pittsburgh, and Ian Happ will open things for the defending World Series champs. He drove in the only Chicago run of the game with a 2-out single in the second.
Yeah, if you're Brent Suter, you got to basically fake your internal clock. What I mean by that is you don't, if you're locked in on the game, you do not concern yourself with it's the 5th inning and this might be my last inning. You've got to keep taking each batter in the scenario that Milwaukee is in, and each batter is as important as you can imagine to give Craig Counsell.
Sound like a broken bat. Little pop for Sogard, who's been busy so far, and there's one away.
To give Craig Counsell the confidence that you can extend him a little bit. Yeah, we got all the analytics numbers that say exactly what they say, but this is different. The bullpen is worn out. There is enough arms down there as far as quantity. It's just the ability to throw the right guys at the right time for a winning scenario for the Brewers. They've used a lot of those guys and have come up short and lost. So that sets them back a little bit for the ability they have to utilize those guys moving forward, especially today.
Kyle Hendricks, the batter, with 1 out and the base is empty. And Hendricks sends a fly ball the other way for Thames. And there are 2 quick outs in the 5th. Well, here's your look at the playoff picture up to the moment, and we mentioned there are a couple of clinch scenarios in baseball today. If the Yankees win, if they beat the Blue Jays this afternoon, they have clinched a postseason berth. They can also get in if the Astros beat the Angels and the A's beat the Rangers. The Diamondbacks can win, and with a Cardinals loss, they too will clinch a wild card berth, and they can get the home field advantage sewn up tonight if they beat the Marlins, the Padres beat the Rockies, and the Pirates beat the Cardinals. You got all that?
Got it.
John Jay Bunting drags it up the line right into the waiting hands of Neil Walker, and it's the quickest of 1, 2, 3 innings.
You know what else I got?
What?
That was quick.
It's quick.
Send him back out for the 6th.
Today's telecast is sponsored by the Lincoln Continental. Big crowd at Miller Park this afternoon in the midst of a 1-1 tie. It'll be the top of the order in the Brewers half of the 5th. Sogard, Walker, and Braun against right-hander Kyle Hendricks. Eric Sogard with a hitless start to the afternoon. And a ball and a strike starts him from Kyle Hendricks here. The 6 hits for Milwaukee this afternoon, although all of them singles, can be seen if something as a minor victory against a guy who has baffled them for the past 2 or so seasons. There are only 3 active pitchers in baseball with a lower career opponent's batting average against Milwaukee. And it's a Hall of Fame roll call. Arrieta, Kershaw, Bumgarner. Next on the list, Kyle Hendricks, who has been hit to a paltry .221 clip in his career against Milwaukee.
Yeah, and it gets even better against the active roster that they have right now, 189. So he watched film. He knows that this team is built around launch angle and homers, and strikeouts and walks. So you can utilize that to your advantage if you know collectively what the hitters are trying to do, and that's hit home runs.
Still 2 balls and 2 strikes on Eric Sogard. Sogard's addition earlier this year was a step toward modifying that to a degree. He is not a 3 true outcome hitter, and the definition of that, home run, strikeout, walk. And as John alluded to a couple of times, it's becoming more of a trend in baseball, and the Brewers have been that kind of offense all season long to an exaggerated degree.
Yeah, and you know the argument strikeouts don't matter. Well, they do when you're getting to this time of the year and you get runners on third. You need to create runs, especially in the postseason. That's why it's rare that teams have success in the postseason with this model. But this model might get you through 162 games economically, or.
And that's a base hit for Sogard. Fine plate appearance. Fought off a couple of 2-2 pitches and singles into left.
Or analytically, I mean, it makes sense on paper, but when you start seeing it play out, and we've seen this play out now with certain teams, that in the pressure, with the tension, and the opportunity to score a run without a hit, they're not getting it done because the wrong guy seems to be coming up at the plate with the wrong approach. And that's why certain teams who blend the combination of both have a better chance of success when the playoffs come around.
Here's Neil Walker now with the leadoff hitter on base, and it's the first time this afternoon that the Brewers have put their leadoff hitter aboard. It is an amazing number. The fact that the Brewers score nearly, well, they score most of their runs, a lot of their runs on the home run. In fact, no NL team scores a higher percentage of their runs on the long ball. But the 3 true outcomes, 40%, nearly 40% of their plate appearances are a walk, strikeout, or home run. That is a staggering number to me.
It really is. And again, the thing that people forget, and this is not a slight against the 4 starter and the 5th starter in a rotation, but because they put numbers and because you're slotted, there's usually a reason. And you don't face a lot of those in the postseason. You do not face the 4 and 5 starters hardly at all. And so what happens? Your elite starters, your frontline starters in those moments, we're going to expose you when the pressure makes you more amped to do more. You expand the zone more, and if a pitcher can hit a spot, he's going to make a living. And those things just, again, until we see teams start winning it all like that, you got to believe that formula does not breed success at that time of the year.
A ball and 2 strikes, the count to Neil Walker. Ryan Braun waiting on deck with the leadoff hitter aboard.
You know, we were having that discussion earlier before the game, and I've asked many hitters, and I'm shocked at some of the answers. If I hypothetically said to a hitter, you never have to get a hit the entire year, but I pay you an exorbitant amount of bonus money for a runner on second or third with less than 2 outs. All you had to do was make contact, never get a hit the entire year. Could you do it? My argument is yes, if you take out the pride and the ability to get a hit. But it's shocking how many hitters goes, no, I don't think so. That should be a little bit more doable. But you're asking a guy to change his whole approach once a runner gets on, and a lot of guys can't do that.
Swing and a miss by Walker, and there's 1 away. And that's the other side of it. If a pitcher who's a craftsman like a Kyle Hendricks, like a Greg Maddux, can expose a lineup that way, it becomes easy.
Yes, and I'll tell you what, this is what I did, and this is the shorter video of it, but these guys pitch similar. And sure, Greg Maddux is a Hall of Fame, and I've never seen a greater pitcher in person, but look at the way that they throw each pitch. Changeup for Maddux was great. His two-seamer was great. See how they finish. And I think that Greg Maddux, in the ability that he had, and obviously Hall of Famer, Kyle Hendricks has taken a little bit of the pages out of his book to say, okay, I've seen this. I know how I can mechanically throw the ball where I want to with movement and create enough change in speeds to act like I do throw 95 mile an hour to a hitter, because once I slow the hitter down and I see that two-seamer, he's done a nice job mixing and matching.
Here's Ryan Braun now with 1 out and 1 on. Well, we can discuss some of the vulnerabilities of the Brewers lineup, but in the interest of fairness, should also be noted that they have a lot of productivity in this lineup that's spread out. It hasn't been just 1 or 2 guys doing all the lifting.
But this guy's been struggling just a little bit down the stretch, and especially with runners in scoring position. If they have an 8-game stretch in front of them, it'd be nice if he got hot.
Yeah, he's had a rough week stranding runners as he takes a strike, does Ryan Braun. It's 1-1. He is, however, one of the number of Brewers players with at least 40 RBIs this year. In fact, the Brewers have more 40-plus RBI hitters in their lineup than any other National League team. And now he's behind the ball in 2 strikes. That's that hot fastball at 87 miles an hour that appears to be coming down with a lot more gas on it.
And you can see how frustrated the hitters get when they think that's off the plate. They'd rather have the plate and the velocity be condensed over the plate. They have more chance for success. But when you expand the zone, watch what he does off of that pitch away to a great hitter in Ryan Braun. See, they're going to go further away.
Braun one-hops it to second. It checked up for Baez, who was there to make a play on it. It looked like that ball was going to get past Baez, but there was enough backspin on the hop to allow Baez to grab it from the side door.
Yeah, Baez is so gifted, and it did hit off the end of the bat, and the ball did come back to him. You see the funny spin right there, and then you see at the last minute, his hands are so good. He's able to adjust on the fly, his baseball IQ. Yeah, some may think he's flashy. Look, the guy's really gifted. And when you're that gifted and you can make those plays defensively and have a wow factor, I'd be a little prideful too if I were him. He could do it all.
So Hendrickson out away from stranding that leadoff single, and it'll be one of the Brewers' most productive hitters in the way. Travis Shaw, he of the 97 RBI season. Shaw started with a strike.
You're looking for movement out of a sinker, and then he floats a 75-mile-an-hour curveball. At some point in this at bat, we'll see if he throws that front door sinker, which we haven't seen much of, where he starts it in against the left-hander and catches that plate.
Shaw's hit safely in 7 of his last 8. He has a base hit today. One of the 7 singles against Kyle Hendricks, and he's trying to pick up Eric Sogard here with 2 gone.
I would be thinking changeup if I'm Contreras right here. Let's see what they go to against Shaw. And it was a changeup.
One that missed way off the plate. 2 balls and a strike now.
Slow him down, speed him up, slow him down. If you get a pitch up that he fouls off, then the curveball becomes more of a pitch.
And that one misses in on the hands. 3 balls and a strike now, with Eric Thames waiting a chance on deck. He too has singled this afternoon.
(3-1) changeup maybe after cutting the ball in on his hands.
Brewers are 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position and 2 outs today. They have not had a lot of success in that category season long, however. Their .216 average ranks 27th in baseball. And Hendricks loses him on ball 4, but does not appear to be too bothered by that. He was pitching very carefully to Shaw. Hey, a reminder, college football tonight on Fox. Coming up next, a Big Ten showdown as Purdue looks to derail number 8 Michigan. Then at 8 Eastern, Notre Dame and Michigan State resume their classic rivalry in East Lansing. College football on Fox, where every game is everything. And I know that John Smoltz will be watching that second game from the Michigan State side. And this guy, I can't believe we met with Craig today before the game and not a word about this game tonight between the two of you.
He's got a lot of things on his mind right now, and that's how to navigate through this game and get a W, because they play so many close games to the Brewers. I think 3 runs or less, or 2 runs or less, it's some huge number. So he's obviously spinning his wheels as the manager, trying to utilize every weapon that he has here in September.
We talked about the Brewers being 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position and 2 out today. That 1 hit belongs to Thames, and it came in the first. A ball and a strike now. Another left-handed batter, Stephen Vogt, next. Hendricks prefer not think about it going that far. And it's a ball and 2 strikes to Thames now.
Well, the bigger the moments for Kyle Hendricks, sometimes he actually goes slower, meaning the pitch selection, a slower pitch. Aggressive hitters swinging too hard, trying to make so much happen. We've already talked about his success with runners in scoring position. He got a good 89-mile-an-hour sinker by Thames on the outside part of the plate that he fouled off.
The 1-2. Strikeout number 6 for Hendricks, and none bigger than that one, as it keeps runners aboard stranded and keeps the score tied at 1. Today's telecast is sponsored by Microsoft Surface and by Budweiser, who reminds you to give a damn, don't drive drunk. The immortal Robin Yount, one of the numbers forever retired here at Miller Park, number 19, there with the legendary radio voice Bob Uecker. Raleigh, Jackie the Hammer, and Commissioner Emeritus Bud Selig, some of the most important figures in Brewers franchise history. Chris Bryant leads things off in the Chicago half of the second. The meat of the order here with Bryant, Rizzo, and Contreras. And a very watchful eye being kept on Brent Suter as he's being extended into the 6th inning here today. And why not? As John mentioned, a very quick 1, 2, 3, 5th through just a handful of pitches. And with a bullpen that could use an extra inning out of a starter, that's what's being asked of Brent Suter here.
So I know this game's magnified for obvious reasons. You know, playoffs at the stake for Milwaukee.
A base hit for Chris Bryant. Other action around Major League Baseball. Let's send it to Mike Hill in our Los Angeles studios for an update. Mike. Well, that is a really scary stat from Mike Scioscia's guys, who have stayed in it a lot longer than anybody gave them credit for, but appear to be running out of steam. Brewers bullpen is busy behind Suter. First pitch to Anthony Rizzo is popped up. Sogard has a play, and that's a big first out.
But here's the point I wanted to finish. The games are magnified, they mean more, and the information is what it is, but you got to use your eyes. We've seen some pitchers dominate in baseball games coming out just because. Why? Because the numbers say you should. And sometimes you cost yourself opportunities to get through an inning and extend yourself. And as we say that, my man Suter's coming out. But a great job by Suter in the ability to mix and match and keep his team in a position to win a baseball game.
Suter gone after 5 1/3. It'll be Wilson Contreras to bat against the bullpen when we come back. Time to keep the Brewers in this one, in this ball game. 1 run on 6 hits, leaves with a tie score. 1 runner is his responsibility, and hands the ball to right-hander Jared Hughes, who's been pretty good of late. Unscored upon over his last 9 outings, including in his most recent appearance. A couple of batters retired Wednesday in Pittsburgh.
You see a lot of movement on his pitches. He relies heavily on that sinker. Arms and legs and coming right after the hitter.
Wilson Contreras has singled and scored the lone Chicago run today and has started with a strike. Albert Almora next. Brewers into their bullpen, and it's been a group, as we have talked about so far, that's had its number called a lot in the month of September. Bryant's running. Throw down to second base is in time to get him. Or not. Called the bag was safe, even though it looked very much like Bryant was out. You saw Stephen Vogt ask for a replay immediately. Bryant's still standing at the bag. Let's take a look at it again.
Well, he got a huge jump and a good throw, and it looks like he was there in plenty of time, and he missed the tag.
Wow.
Did he miss the tag? Well, the Cubs are going to let it go.
And now they're taking Bryant off the field, saying that he was out. Some kind of confusing moment there.
Angles are so important, aren't they? And depending on what angle you see, and that's why technology has allowed us to get to a point. I mean, you could make an argument when you saw it a couple times that he missed the tag.
And a wave and a miss on a slider. Contreras now with a 1-2 count at the plate, and the base is empty with 2 gone.
Well, Hughes does take a little bit longer to get to home plate, so you could think that the Cubs were trying to expose that, and Vogt shut it down.
That's something that is a statistical, at least, inadequacy with the defending world champs. They don't run a lot. I don't think that bothers many folks, but when Anthony Rizzo has a share of your club's stolen base lead in the next to last week of the season, you know that by design Joe hasn't had guys running very often. And Contreras strikes out on the same slider. Started out with promise for the Cubs after the leadoff single, but nothing in the 6th, and it's still a 1-1 ball game. Tradition like none other. The sausage race. The hot dog was the winner today, but you know what, as we used to say back at Old County Stadium, John, they're all wieners to us.
I knew you had a special glow about you today coming back.
Stephen Vogt leads things off in the Brewers half of the 6th, still sitting on a 1-1 tie as Kyle Hendricks goes back out there. Big strikeout got him out of a jam in the 5th, and here in the 6th he gets Vogt, Arcia, and Phillips. And it's a ball and a strike to Vogt.
So much pressure on managers these days, so much second guessing by people, quite frankly, that don't even know or play the game but have all the numbers, and they second guess like crazy. And some of that pressure has led to what we're dealing with. I'm reminded of Kyle Hendricks not too long ago in Game 7 dominating and not getting a chance to finish the 5th inning. So it is a trend that managers have to deal with, and they're getting information from a lot of different people. But man, that would drive me crazy.
Ball and 2 strikes on Vogt, who sends a fly ball out to center.
Now, it would be different if I saw a bunch of rockets all over the place. I mean, guys are just not barreling either of these pitchers up. That means your pitcher is on his game. I don't care what the average of 28, 30 starts tell me, but for this start, it's telling me he's pretty good.
There's like a Rodney Dangerfield pathology in a guy that doesn't throw 95 miles an hour, and it's created around him, to your point, as Orlando Arcia digs in. Everybody's always waiting for the other wheel to fall off when it comes to a finesse guy. And it never happened with Kyle Hendricks last year.
No, it didn't.
I remember the discussion getting into the postseason. Oh, can you trust a guy who's a changeup specialist in the postseason? Well, why not?
He was unhittable in Game 7. The Cubs went on to win, but he didn't finish 5. That's the new era. The consumption of information.
2 balls and no strikes to Orlando Arcia. Well, here's a number on Arcia, or rather on Hendricks, that I think kind of blows me away personally, because whenever you're compared to somebody like Catfish Hunter in a superlative, you're doing something right. So Kyle Hendricks today allowed a base hit with runners in scoring position for only the 14th time this year.
That's unreal.
The last pitcher to make at least 20 starts and allow fewer than 15 hits with runners in scoring position was Catfish Hunter in 1978. Arcia sends a chopper to the left side. Bryant's got to hurry, and a good play makes it look easy for out number 2.
Well, this is what you're seeing from a guy that may not be physically huge and throw the ball very hard, but what he does is precise. And he's made these hitters guess a lot and guess wrong and swing and miss. And that's the evidence of a pitcher who's got his mechanics in tune. He's got release point where he wants to, and he's messing with the hitters' heads when he can. He knows what he wants to do, and he's doing it. Now, that's not every start. But when you have a particular game like he's having right now, and the evidence of nobody up in the bullpen, or at least they got him ready but not super hot, he's dealing.
Starts Brett Phillips with a breaking ball. Phillips has shown the ability to stay with him. A couple of base hits, one of the infield variety. A ball and a strike to count to Brett Phillips. And Brett Phillips is 3 for 3 this afternoon. It's turning into a real problem for Kyle Hendricks.
Well, he's had the best approach. He stayed back. His swing isn't long. He's taken exactly what Kyle is throwing, and he's going the other way and putting the ball in place. So great approach. Watch how quiet he is. Nothing too much. Head down. And he's not trying to lift the ball out of the park, even with 2 outs. Just trying to put his team in a situation where maybe they can string some hits together.
So 2 gone for the pinch hitter now as Hernan Perez grabs a bat-to-bat in the number 9 spot. Perez has been a super valuable, super utility guy, playing all over the field this year, slugging 14 home runs in what's turned into a great year for him. try to keep the line moving with a 2-out base runner aboard.
Pitch there. He didn't get the call. Ball broke maybe around the plate.
Perez has enjoyed a historic season here to a degree, in that he's become just the 8th player since 1913 to make at least 5 starts in 6 or more defensive positions. 6 or more starts at second, third, short, left, center, and right. And there are folks around here that feel like he could pitch and catch in a real pinch. I don't think we'll see the days of the Cesar Tovar play all around the infield and outfield pitch and catch as though we did in the 60s and 70s on the last day of the regular season. But who knows? And it's 3-1 now. Kenny Hernan Perez, one of the more valuable guys in this or any roster this year.
He is, Matt, and Stephen Vogt surprised me yesterday when he went out of his way to mention Perez as one of the best teammates he's ever had. Says he's a funny guy, always keeps everybody upbeat, and is in a good mood the same way every day, no matter how he's doing.
And I'm reminded he actually did pitch on one occasion this year, end of July against the Nationals in a runaway score. Full count to him.
Find it awful interesting sometimes. The best pitch you're going to get to hit is a 3-0 pitch. You see what happens. He got aggressive on 3-1, swung at Kyle Hendricks' pitch. Now it's 3-2.
Phillips runs. The 3-2 pitch is fouled away.
He did it again. So the ironic about some hitters, they're patient to get to 3-0, and then for whatever reason after 3-1 they get impatient and they allow themselves to think that they have to make something happen, especially here with 2 outs and a runner going. He swung at ball 4 twice, which should tell Kyle Hendricks a lot.
Top of the order, Eric Sogard next. Hendricks trying to strand another base runner. And the next 3-2 pitch home to Perez is yanked foul. And Milwaukee's not been without its opportunities in this one today. They stranded 2 in the first after scoring. Stranded single base runners in the second, third, and fourth, a pair in the fifth. And they've got another 2-out man aboard here in the sixth.
And the outfielders have to play a little deeper here, just trying to cut off a 2-out double with the runner running.
Here we go again on a full count pitch. And Perez sends it out to second base for Baez. Another runner left stranded. Another scoreless inning for Kyle Hendricks. In as close to a must-win situation as the Brewers have been in all year, it's still a 1-1 tie at Miller Park. On the Budweiser game summary, Kyle Hendricks 112 pitches, his most in a start since August of last year. Brent Suter was very good, limiting Chicago to just 1 run, and the scoring came early. A 2-out RBI single by Eric Thames in the home half of the first. And then the Cubs would counter in the same exact fashion, stationing together 3 singles to chip away at a run. And it was Ian Happ delivering the RBI. We have stayed locked at 1-1 ever since. And Jacob Barnes becomes the 3rd Brewer to pitch in this one. He's had his number called often, making his 71st appearance of the year here today.
Fastball, slider. You see the numbers on the year, and at this point you just try to trick your brain that you're not fatigued and just try to execute. It gets late in the year, bullpen guys getting up a ton. Every time they get up doesn't mean they get in. But the 71 games that he's been in, and of late the rush the bullpen has been under, they're just trying to get 1 hitter at a time.
Kyle Schwarber is the pinch hitter, and this Cubs lineup resurgence since around the midway point of the season can be traced to the demotion and then subsequent recall of Kyle Schwarber, who, as you can see, since the 6th of July has been a much more productive hitter. 2 balls and a strike.
Yes, he has, and certainly they need his offensive production, as last year was just kind of amazing in itself what he did. But as a reliever who gets up there in the numbers of games, he tries to force velocity. The natural velocity of Barnes is what makes him special. Cutter, slider. And you feel like you got to use your body more to get it work done, and that does not work out all the time. So anyone who thinks relieving, and it's certainly the topic of baseball, bullpenning, these guys get exhausted a lot quicker this time of the year in September.
Russell and Baez next in a 1-1 tie. The 2-2 to Schwarber he can't hold up. And that's a big first out for Jacob Barnes. Major League Baseball's postseason begins October 3rd with the American League wildcard game on ESPN. Then the following night with the NL wildcard matchup on TBS. Then October 5th, the AL Division Series begins on FS1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. That National League Central and wild card is what's in order here. Chicago with their biggest lead of the year atop the division, and the Brewers again 2 back of that second wild card spot, hoping to win late here today and then get some help from the Padres, who host the Rockies again tonight.
And why this is so important for the Brewers, besides the obvious win today and win tomorrow, the Cardinals play the Cubs in a 4-game series.
Yep.
And then the Cubs, if I'm correct, the Brewers play the Cardinals, and that's going to be a benefit for the Colorado Rockies if they put themselves in that position, because one of them is going to be losing.
They say that Russell swung the bat on the appeal, and Addison's now behind 1-2. Yeah, you make a good point. It's worth going back to this and note that the Rockies are home for their final 6 against a Miami team that's playing out the string and a Dodger team that's just trying to get its house in order after a really difficult month plus of baseball for them. Russell swats a drive into center field. Phillips started back. Now he's got to hurry to get there. And that's out number 2.
Now, this is not the script. I mean, you always want a chance every time you tee it up in a baseball game, and a manager's going to try to do everything he can to give his team the best chance of winning. But you'd like more breathing room. 103 of the Brewers' 154 games this season have been decided by 3 runs or fewer. And that's the most in the majors.
Yeah, and the close late ones have gotten away over the last 3 days, as we've discussed. Here's Javi Baez now. Wednesday at Pittsburgh, Brewers entered late, entered the 7th inning trailing a run, ended up losing. Thursday against the Cubs in this one, lost in extra innings. Last night against the Cubs in this one, tied 4-4 entering the 7th, ended up losing in 10. And Craig Counsell, as we mentioned earlier, Ken Rosenthal has had to go back to the playbook a number of times on bullpen usage and a number of topics.
Well, Matt, bench coach Pat Murphy calls Counsell the epitome of steadiness. I don't know if he's going to be a strong factor in Manager of the Year consideration for the National League. Torey Lovello's there, Bud Black, Dusty Baker, Dave Roberts, but Counsell should be in that mix. Think about what this team has done. They're platooning at 5 different positions. As you guys have talked about all afternoon, the use of the bullpen has been creative, aggressive, all of those things. They lost Junior Guerra, their opening day starter. Willie Peralta, their opening day starter in 2016. Both those guys were injured and then had poor performance, were gone. Chase Anderson missed 7 weeks with an oblique injury. Jimmy Nelson out season-ending labrum surgery this month. Counsell has made a lot with this team. A lot from a little, perhaps? No, it's a lot from a lot, but he's done a great job.
And a wave and a miss finishes off the 7th. Good points made on Counsell, who will get some Manager of the Year consideration. Time now for deeper coverage, brought to you by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Deeper coverage presented by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network, and we set a change for you on the mound for the Cubs here. Bottom half of the 7th, and Justin Wilson enters. Brewers got to him on Thursday as he allowed 3 hits and a run in the 8th. It ended up not really mattering for Wilson, at least, because the Cubs came back to win it in extra innings, and there are some defensive changes behind him. Jason Hayward takes over in right, and that moves Ian Happ into center in place of Albert Almora. Eric Sogard leads things off in the Brewers half of the 7th. Still a 1-1 tie, top of the order here for Milwaukee.
Yeah, the Brewers would ideally like to get something going here and score a run here relatively soon, because they run out of options the longer this game goes. And for the Cubs, they'd like to see Mr. Wilson just get a little bit more connected and on a roll as they move into the postseasons, because the bullpen has been a little bit maybe up in the air, but Joe Maddon would like to be more confident about some guys if he can get them going in these last 7 days.
Yeah, I think what you'd consider to be first world problems, those of the Cubs.
Yeah.
You know, getting your bullpen in order. They were really encouraged with Rondon. Back off the shelf and very effective in his first outing back. A joke gushes about Carl Edwards Jr. and calls him a closer in waiting. Pedro Strop available today after pitching in Thursday's series opener. And it's 2 balls and 2 strikes to Eric Sogard.
don't think he liked that call. The ball sailed a little bit on the outside corner. Put the count to 2-2. That's been a little bit of the issue for Wilson, is command. That ball's looking like it's off the plate. Contreras kind of pulls it back.
Got him looking.
That's two of them he's not going to be happy with. Sogard, he gets one off the plate, and then this one he thinks is low.
Hey, a reminder, start your NFL Sundays an hour earlier with Fox NFL Kickoff. Carissa Thompson, Tony Gonzalez, Dave Wanstead, Callan Cowherd, and Michael Vick have all the latest breaking news and updates you need to start your football Sunday. Fox NFL Kickoff tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. Here's Neil Walker now with one gun and the base is empty. And Walker's issued strike one. Tomorrow in the series finale, we've already visited with Chase Anderson, who gets the ball for the Brewers, and left-hander Jose Quintana for the Cubs. And again, everybody around the Brewers side will be watching the Padres and Rockies later on tonight, hoping for a little help out in San Diego. Padres have proven to be a tough out here down the stretch. And today they have Ulyss Chacin against Chad Bettis. That game later on tonight on the West Coast. Milwaukee can score enough to hold on here and win this one today, and they get the help out west. They're back by only a game of that second wild card spot as Walker strikes out. But Todd did not appear to be, Neil rather, did not appear to be particularly comfortable batting right-handed against Wilson.
Wilson's got a good fastball, and it gets on the hitters. That's why it doesn't matter right or left-handed as far as who's at the plate. But this matchup right here, I'm sure the meeting on the mound is one where you're going to be totally confident in what you're doing. But this would be an interesting matchup. Braun, a good fastball hitter. To see if he's aggressive early on a fastball or not. He had a conversation with the umpire right there, did Braun. I don't know if it was talking football later tonight or the strike zone.
Yeah, maybe trying to get back into the good graces of home plate umpire Chris Guccione, with whom he took exception over the strike zone back in the fifth. Ooh. And Braun behind 0-1. A pair of DL stints this year for Ryan Braun slowed him down, but still altogether 17 home runs, a .274 average. By his own standards, a subpar year, but only because Ryan Braun's standards for offensive productivity are so high. Travis Shaw waiting on deck behind him. And now Braun's behind a ball and 2 strikes as we remind you that MLB wants to see your best plays this summer, whether they're in the backyard or on the diamond. Show us what you've got on social media with hashtag MLBThePlay, and we'll feature some of those all season long.
Can I send one in? Am I a candidate or no? Because I've
depends on which one you're going to send in.
Oh, okay.
If you're going to send in the one where you dive off the mound to try to get to first base in San Diego 10 years ago, then I think we're for it. Still the ball and 2 strikes on Ryan Braun. Swinging a fly ball into shallow left. And that retired the side in order. A good outing for Justin Wilson in the 7th. Still a 1-1 ball game. He gets the 8, 9, then top of the order hitters for Chicago. That's Happ, Hayward, and Jay. A 1-1 ball game, and it's been that way ever since the second inning. Ian Happ is as aggressive as ever, making a bid for the game's first extra base hit, and he's got it to lead off the 8th. This guy is pure danger early in a plate appearance.
Yeah, and that's just not recognizing the scouting report, because this is the most aggressive first pitch guy on their team, and he loves the first pitch. And you see the outer part of that fastball or cutter that he had, and Happ has done it again. He knows right away now that's going to be a double and get in scoring position, let the rest of his teammates do the job of driving him in.
First plate appearance now for Jason Hayward, who came on defensively last half inning. I know there have been a lot of big rookie years in baseball the past few seasons, and Ian Happ's .249 batting average might not be as celebrated, but he's hit 22 home runs, 62 driven in, playing with the defending World Series champ. And how about this one? Since 1927, only 2 Cub rookies have had a higher slugging percentage of 500 or better, that is, than Ian Happ. He's the go-ahead run at second with nobody out in the 8th. Hayward takes again, and it's 3 balls and no strikes. Cubs lineup, which has been the highest scoring lineup since the All-Star break in the National League, has been held to just 1 run through 7+. But they've got as good a situation as they've had all afternoon to break the tie right here.
Yeah, tough scenario right here, because Jay handles the bat so well. If you know that first and second, he can do so many different things for Joe Madden, and then of course Bryant Rizzo coming up. That's not what you want for anybody to face.
Three balls and no strikes, the count to Jason Hayward. And he's taking all the way. There's ball 4. Craig Counsell has Anthony Swarzak up in the Milwaukee bullpen.
This is where the looks become all too familiar for Craig Counsell. This time of the game, with not having as many options, and you see the appearances already, and he's going to have to go and get another guy. This is part of the deal when starters and don't go very far, and you need your bullpen.
Anthony Swarzak will be summoned in duress. Runners at first and second, nobody out in the 8th. We'll be right back. Season starts October 3rd with the AL wildcard game on ESPN. Then the following night, October 4th, the National League wildcard matchup on TBS. Then October 5th, the AL Division Series begins on FS1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. It is about that time. Well, Jacob Barnes worked a scoreless 7th, could not retire a batter in the 8th. It was a double and a base on balls that was his undoing, and Anthony Swarzak will try to keep a clean inning with runners aboard and nobody out. He's been great since being acquired by the White Sox at the end of July. Down the stretch in particular, he has not allowed an earned run in his last 10 outings, and that includes 2/3 of a scoreless inning last night.
Well, he's coming into a situation where he's got to look at it as an opportunity to get his fellow teammate out of this situation. Don't look at it as pressure, but an opportunity. Easier said than done, though.
John Jay has a single tonight, bunting, and it's a good one. Shaw's got only one play. And that moves runners into second and third with one gone. A fine execution of the sacrifice by John Jay.
Well, by John Jay bunting, you basically have told the Cubs have basically said you're fine with Rizzo batting with the bases loaded, because that's probably which should be the option. But he can do so many different things. John Jay perfectly executing the bunt. But the Brewers are going to pitch to Bryant in this situation when I thought you might entice a Rizzo into a ground ball double play with the bases loaded. So
that was my guess as well, that Bryant would be passed and that they try to get out of the inning with a roller from Rizzo. Here's the first pitch to Chris Bryant, and he sends a fly ball out to center field. Phillips adds the big arm. He makes the catch. The throw's cut off, and the Cubs have taken a 2-1 lead.
Before I could even say it, they put the shift on, and I was going to say that Bryant can go to right field, and he does with the approach up. And Phillips tries to steal an out at third, but the speed is too good at third. He can't make that throw all the way home with where he catches the ball. So, interestingly enough, the strategy of facing Bryant, now they're going to walk Rizzo and face Contreras first and third. So they like to match up righty on righty, but once again the Cubs late deliver and have taken a lead.
Intentional walk to Rizzo is called for, and it will be up to Wilson Contreras, who has singled in the second. Just 1 for 9 in the series. Contreras has just one extra base hit in 22 plate appearances since coming off the DL. But he has been deadly this year with 2 out and runners in scoring position all season long, as you can see. Boy, 3 pitches thrown by Anthony Swarzak and 3 swings. Jay sacrifices. Bryant hit the sac fly on the first pitch. And then the first pitch to Contreras fouled away. Another pinch hitter waiting on deck. It'll be Ben Zobrist to bat in the pitcher spot next, should it go one at bat deeper.
Well, that height to that fastball right there would have been much better to Bryant. When you throw a ball up and elevate, it's easier for a hitter to get the ball in the air. But a ball down there, much more difficult, even if you're trying to shoot the hole or hit the ball in the gap.
Hayward at third, Rizzo at first. Javi Baez calling it in Spanish for an imaginary audience, and a roller out to shortstop that's going to get Swarzak out of any further jeopardy. The Cubs do scratch across the go-ahead run. 2-1 Chicago. New lower prices on thousands of items. Target Run and Done. And by BMW, we only make one thing, the ultimate driving machine. Well, Happ doubles to lead off the inning, and then a few turns of event later, Chris Bryant sends the sac fly out to right that breaks the 1-1 tie as we head to the bottom half of the 8th. And Milwaukee will have Travis Shaw, Eric Thames, and Stephen Vogt against Justin Wilson, who will stick around for a second inning after a pair of strikeouts in a 1-2-3 seventh. There are only 4 hitters in baseball this year who've had an increase in their OPS larger than Travis Shaw's between 2016 and 2017. He's had a terrific year here. And Ken Rosenthal, as you know, it has come under extremely difficult circumstances.
Matt, Shaw's daughter Ryan was born on June 6th with a condition known as hypoplastic left heart syndrome. That's a defect that leaves the left heart severely underdeveloped. She's undergone 3 surgeries. She has yet to leave the Children's Hospital of Wisconsin, but Shaw told me yesterday she could be out within 3 to 4 weeks. Now, Shaw and his wife Lindy learned of Ryan's condition when Lindy was still pregnant with her. This was in January, about a month after the Brewers acquired Shaw from the Red Sox. The trade actually proved a blessing in a way. Children's Hospital specializes in just the type of surgeries and care that Ryan required. Shaw has been going to the hospital after every home game. He basically spends every waking hour there. The Brewers hitting coach Darnell Coles told me it's the most impressive thing I've seen in a long time, meaning his dedication and commitment to his daughter while going through the season.
But to produce like he has under those extremely difficult home conditions, everybody in that Brewers clubhouse has noticed and pays extra bits of respect every day to Travis Shaw. It's really an amazing story because the physician who is one of the few that handles this kind of case in Boston also practices here in Milwaukee. And if Travis Shaw was traded anywhere else, he'd be separated from his infant daughter. Swing and a miss by Shaw here, and there's one gone for Wilson in the 8th. So Milwaukee will go to its bench. They use turn on Perez as a pinch batter in the 6th. And we'll see if a counter move awaits Jesus Aguilar. And while this is being processed, here's a special message from T-Mobile.
That's right. T-Mobile Unlimited family plans now include Netflix on us.
Here comes Joe Maddon, and with the right-handed batter announced, the Cubs will go to the bullpen. No lack of options with deep September rosters, and Pedro Strop will work with 1 out in the 8th when we come back. deep September roster options in this ball game. A pinch hitter and then a pitching change. First, the pitcher, right-hander Pedro Strop, a guy that the Brewers got to in the series opener here on Thursday. Strop was charged with the blown save in the 7th after allowing a hit on 2 walks. An inherited runner came around to score on his watch, and Jesus Aguilar is the pinch hitter. He faced him on Thursday, and he was one of the 2 batters that walked against Strop in that series opener.
It's a big man at the plate, and Strop got away with the first pitch, and you see the foul ball there. Now 0-2. Strop's got to get a little better command of that slider. Sometimes it rolls over the middle of the plate. He's got good stuff. He's got to be able to place it at times when he needs it.
Aguilar's been very good off the bench this year. A .268 pinch hitter this season. He sticks around on a foul ball. One that catches the hand of Contreras, and it's still 0-2.
Yeah, it looked like at first it hit the chest protector, then the hand. Let's see if he got the hand first. See where the hand's exposed?
Oh, yeah.
So at least it was deflected a little bit on the bounce.
So still 0-2 to the pinch hitter. Left-hander Stephen Vogt waiting on deck.
The old quick pitch, and the big man at the plate, ball down. Great pitch for 2 strikes, but you got to be ready against Strop. He doesn't always. There's another one.
And that one gets him.
And even though he starts out of the stretch, there's no such thing as being able to come to a stop with nobody on, so he doesn't have to, and a hitter's got to be ready. Sometimes he gets that leg kick and takes his time, and sometimes it's a little bit of the quick pitch. Well within the rules.
So now Stephen Vogt with 2 gone. Wilson strikes out Shaw. Strop strikes out Aguilar. And now 0-1 to Stephen Vogt, as we remind you that the most popular way to follow the postseason is with MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcasts, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat today.
You were locked in on that one. I mean, seriously locked in.
I love the at bat app. I'm on that hours a day. It's really unbelievable.
Because you're in the 8th inning. You've had a lot of promos to read. That one was delivered as if it was your first one.
You felt it, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to even get out of that.
Well, I know that folks in this part of the world who follow the Brewers love listening to Bob Uecker on Brewers radio. And same of the Cubs radio audience. Pat Hughes, who, by the way, used to work with Ueck here in Milwaukee, and the longtime radio voice of the Cubs. There's Bob. And listen to those radio broadcasts on the MLB.com bat app. And that's going to do it in the Brewers half of the 8th. Good combined work from Wilson and Strop. They get through the Brewers in order and preserve their 2-1 lead. defense brought to you by Eric Sogard. Grip the moment, sponsored by Falcon Tires, the official tire of Major League Baseball. Up as high as he could go to rob Anthony Rizzo of a base hit. Not only that, he turned it into a double play after a leadoff single, helping preserve at the time a 1-1 tie. Pitching change for Milwaukee, their 5th of the ball game, and their opening day starter working out of the bullpen here down the stretch is Junior Guerra.
Yeah, that's hard to believe, and certainly he's in this position now as much needed help in the bullpen. 3/5 of their starters have gone down since the starting part of the season with either injuries or some sort of scenario, so they've had to literally have the patchwork that Counsell has had to maintain throughout the last month and a half, 2 months.
Ben Zobrist leads things off, a pinch hitter for Chicago. You saw the defensive realignment for Milwaukee. Keon Broxton taking over in center, and that moves Phillips to right. And the Cubs here in the 9th have Zobrist, Russell, and Baez up a run.
You know, as this series started, you can understand the anticipation that the Brewers had coming off the success of taking care of business in Wrigley with the 1-game deficit in the wild card and, of course, the deficit in the standings. Well, besides the obvious of them wanting to come back and win this game, there's still something they don't want to have happen in their field either. And there is a possibility where a clinch could take place if they don't win at least a game. St. Louis loses a game, the Cubs can clinch in the ballpark.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good night to Ben Zobrist as Gary gets him on a changeup. There's one gone here in the 9th.
Unless I've done my math wrong, they clinch a playoff spot. Is that not correct?
I think it's 5. The magic number over St. Louis is 5,
St. Louis.
so it'd be Monday.
That's okay. So you don't have to worry about that. Disregard that.
Never mind.
That's what happens when you get that information from a security guard on the way coming into your stadium.
Is that what?
Yeah, he goes, we don't want the Cubs to clinch here, and there's a scenario that could work out.
You're like, listen, leave the math to me. Check my bag, and I'll do the math. 1-1 the count to Addison Russell, who has singled today. Only one extra base hit in this ball game, and it was Happ's leadoff double in the 8th. He would eventually score after a pair of sacrifices, and it's a ball and 2 strikes on Russell now. Javier Baez waiting on deck. When Milwaukee bats in the 9th, they'll have the bottom of their order. Arcia, Phillips, and then the pitcher's spot.
More than likely, they'll have to do it against Davis,
who has not blown a save since last year. And the 2-2 is swung out and missed. A pair of strikeouts for Junior Guerra to start this relief appearance in the 9th.
See it. Not even close. Russell, of course, trying to come back and get in rhythm, but swings at a ball that bounces.
Baez is hitless in this one. He has struck out twice. Started the day hot, 11 for 31 over a 9-game stretch. And Guerra starts him with a strike.
You know, he's really made some adjustments offensively. Came in the league with raw power, struck out a ton. And they tried to eliminate the wiggle in the bat, and he's really made strides in being able to cut down some of those strikeouts.
Yeah, this was a player who was a rookie in his abbreviated audition of his rookie year, struck out in 40% of his plate appearances. There's still some swing and miss in there, but to your point, he has made some great corrections toward that. And there's Davis getting ready to go. Cubs bullpen as a group has been great. Davis, of course, the headliner. A ball and 2 strikes, 1-2 on Javier Baez. Sold out crowd here.
Yeah.
We're just getting ready to talk about how this place hasn't had a lot to cheer about because we're thinking along the same lines. And it's been a crowd that's been kind of sitting on their hands ever since the Brewers got that first run in the first. Of course, the Cub fans have made some noise. And it'll go to a full count now on Javier Baez.
Well, we get an opportunity in baseball to play every single day just about, and you can forget about losses by playing the next day and obviously extend winning streaks. But the last 3 losses, you got to imagine, has taken some sting out of not only the crowd, but taken some out of the clubhouse, which they were so close to flipping the script and being in this race.
Here is the payoff pitch. Oh, one around the eyes that Baez would like to take back, and I think Vogt caught the backswing there.
Oh, the hazards of catching is so many opportunities for things like this, or balls that ricochet and he gets it off the wrist there. But there's so much energy that runs through a club when you get a big win in moments like this series, and you get adrenaline. That gets you through the tiredness. But when it goes the other way, it kind of zaps you even that much more.
Baez with a sharp one hopper to short for Arcia, and the Brewers need some late magic here this afternoon. To the bottom of the 9th, they'll have to deal with one of the game's best. It's 2-1 Chicago. One lead, one that came in the 8th. Ian Happ's leadoff double led to this. Time for every ounce counts, presented by Gatorade. A sacrifice bunt put runners at second and third, and then a sacrifice fly by the reigning league MVP brought across the go-ahead run. One extra base hit all afternoon long, and it was a big part of the difference.
Cubs hadn't won back-to-back games in extra innings in quite some time coming into this. And now this could be 3 straight close victories that will get them closer to clinching.
Orlando Arcia, the first to start things here for the Brewers. Their bottom third of the order here in the bottom of the 9th inning, down a run. And we talked about the difficulty of trying to come back against Wade Davis. Here's some perspective on both sides. Davis hasn't blown a save in over a year. You got to go back to last September 2nd. Arcia with a ball into the corner, and that one is gone! Folks in the ballpark didn't even realize that Arcia had just tied the game.
Tell you what, he knew it. When he hit it, he knew he had smoked it. Whether or not it was going to stay fair was another question. But there's some adrenaline for you.
Number 15 for Orlando Arcia. So what was that we were saying about the difficulty of scoring against Wade Davis? One swing of the bat, and we are back to a tie game, 2 apiece. Wow. Brett Phillips has 3 hits in this ball game.
Well, you watch the pitch. It's out over the middle. He knows it right when he's leg kick and he delivers this blow. He goes, that ball's gone, but it was barely fair. Davis has all kinds of ways to get you out. Watch exactly the reaction. He knows it. That's one of those where here we go.
I mean, that was the most muted crowd response to a 9th inning game tying home run I can recall, because folks weren't sure if it was fair, if it was foul. Davis had only thrown 1 pitch, and a called strike 3 to Brett Phillips. So again, now we can restate these numbers knowing that Arcia's tied the game. Here's how hard it is to do it against Davis prior to today, and this will be charged as a blown save. His last one was September 2nd of 2016. That was a stretch of 38 consecutive saves converted. And for a Brewers team that was 0-54 when trailing after 8 innings, new life against one of the elite closers in baseball. And a pinch hitter now as Domingo Santana digs in. He with plenty of home run pop. Santana has been a revelation this year. You saw the meaty line, 28 home runs.
Really good since the second half. Batting about .350 in the second half with 8 homers.
Had a 9-game hitting streak that was halted with a hitless game yesterday. Top of the order, Eric Sogard next. 2 balls and a strike. It's a 2-2 now on Domingo Santana.
Well, he has the hard cutter, a curveball, the fastball that plays on both sides of the plate. He'll front door that cutter to right-handers every once in a while. I'm going to go with fastball away.
On the ground to shortstop. Tough play for Russell. Deep in the hole. Throw is there to get him. What a fine play by Addison Russell.
Not ever really worried about Russell's defense. He plays deep, and this ball's hit sharply. So once he gets to it, he knows just set your feet and make the throw.
Eric Sogard now. Cubs hoping for a best case scenario, get this to extra innings and give Happ, Hayward, and Jay a chance in the 10th. That was the combination that scored the go-ahead run back in the 8th. But the Arcia home run has changed the dialogue here this afternoon. A ball and a strike to Eric Sogard.
A lot of blue, as you've already mentioned, in the stands. So part of those, maybe that quiet part was from the people in the blue, the Cub fans.
Sogard, little early, yanks that one real foul. Among the 3 previous walk-off wins for the Brewers this year, one against the Cubs way back in early April. They did it on a wild pitch. In fact, 2 of their previous 3 walk-off wins have come in wild pitch fashion. And a swing and a miss that will officially put this one into extra innings. Again, it's a 23-year-old shortstop that's the hero for the moment for the home side. A 2-2 tie. Garcia has taken this one a little deeper into the afternoon. The Cubs were 3 outs away from locking down their 3rd straight win in the series, but the plucky Brewers had other plans. And once again, Craig Counsell will go to his bullpen for a guy who's proven to be a very valuable swingman since being reacquired by the Texas Rangers, and that's Jeremy Jeffress, who was pressed into starting duty recently in addition to his relief work.
He's nasty for me. He's got everything that you would think you'd want for shutdown stuff. A real good split that he's throwing a lot. Fastball, slider. And just an unfortunate hit that he gave up to Baez on what I still think was a really good pitch. Baez got a hit on.
Yeah, charged with a blown save on Thursday here in the series opener. Gave up a run on a couple of hits in his 1 inning of work. He's behind the leadoff hitter Ian Happ, 2 balls and no strikes. Happ, Hayward, and Jay here in the 10th. Happ's had a nice afternoon. He scored a run, driven in another, a couple of hits for him today. And now he's in front 3-0. You're going to have a lot of names in this final box score this afternoon, given the pitching changes Milwaukee has made, the matchup decisions, a lot of pinch hitters, some defensive substitutions. Here's the 3-0 home, and Happ's aboard on a 4-pitch walk. Kenny, was there something after that Orlando Arcia in regards to the bat and the label, or something that he wanted to make everybody aware of?
Matt, we looked at the video as if it was the Zapruder film, and we saw that basically that name he's pointing to is Miguel Cabrera. Now, the only connection I can think of is Arcia is from Venezuela. Cabrera, of course, from Venezuela as well. So perhaps there is something going on there. Perhaps Cabrera sent him some bats. Maybe we can find out afterward.
Isn't that interesting? The magic of the Cabrera bat. Hayward bunting, and the go-ahead run advances into scoring position with one gone. If the Cubs end up winning this game, the ability of theirs to execute the small ball will be a big part of the storyline.
Well, this has been the inning, right? This has been the inning they've been getting it done. The last 2 times was in the 10th inning, so
right.
Trying for the trifecta here.
Here's John Jay. He laid down a sacrifice bunt, which gave Bryant a chance to drive in the go-ahead run with a sacrifice fly in the 8th.
See how John Jay, when he's holding the bat, traditionally he's holding it with his hands down towards the knob of the bat. But if he gets to a 2-strike situation, that will change.
You have to go back quite a ways to find the last time the Cubs and Brewers played in 3 straight extra innings games. For Milwaukee, June 29th to July 2nd of 2003. And for the Cubs, even farther, you got to go back to June of 2001. The 2-0 home is in for a strike. 2 balls and a strike to John Jay now. I mean, if Craig Counsell was challenged in trying to piece together the late innings at the start of this series, 3 straight extra innings games don't help. The former closer sets, and the next pitch to Jay's fouled off.
See if he goes to that 2-strike approach now on the bat, choking up a little bit, gives him a little bit more control over the bat. And there he has. He's choked up about an inch or 2.
Jay with a bouncer up the middle. That's going to get through. Here comes Happ. No play at the plate. And the Cubs have once again given themselves a 1-run lead. John Jay, Johnny on the spot.
Well, 2-strike approach. All he does, he doesn't try to do too much and goes right up the middle. There's a, looks like a split on the outside part of the plate. Didn't have the depth to it. And once again, the Cubs getting it done in the 10th.
For those of you in Michigan and parts of Indiana, in a few moments, we'll take you to the kickoff of our college football coverage of Michigan at Purdue. For the rest of you, we'll get you out there immediately following this one. You can go to the Fox Business Network or stream it live on Fox Sports Go. And here's Chris Bryant. A ball and no strikes to Bryant, who delivered the 2-1 lead in the 8th. One and one.
Power breaking ball right there. Bryant trying to track it.
It's a Cubs team that it has hit its stride at the perfect point of the season. We were talking about this earlier today. Joe Maddon had very reasonable expectations for his team before the All-Star break. There was never a sense of panic, despite the discussion out there in the media. What's wrong with the Cubs? Did they play too deep into the fall? The magic is lost, blah, blah, blah. And it's 3-1 to Bryant now. Almost by design, you get the sense that Joe Maddon has hit the gas coming out of the All-Star break. The team has responded at the right way in the right time, and all is right with the defending World Series champs at this moment.
So you're not buying that the shampoo has anything to do with it?
I don't think so. I think if anything, Joe's starting to look a little bit more like Elvis Costello, the shampoo that's taken the silver fox look away. That's been speculated too. And there's a strike to Bryant on the corner, a rather liberal corner. It's a full count now. Big sack bunt from Jason Hayward. And a swing and a miss by Bryant. Runner goes. Throw down to second is mishandled, and that's going to cost Milwaukee an extra base. Jay to third with 2 gone.
Well, it might not seem like much with 2 outs, but puts a little more pressure on Vogt with the split finger that he'll probably throw to Rizzo. And the ball just sailed on him. He was going to be out if he makes a good throw. It's not really a stolen base attempt. It's just a hit and run, thinking that Bryant would put it in play. And so they'll take the bat out of Rizzo and give him a walk. But the transfer just had the ball kind of sail, and Sogard couldn't come up with it.
The walk to Rizzo is almost a no-brainer. You don't want anything to do with the left-handed power guy. It's no disrespect meant to Wilson Contreras, but he has struggled in terms of productivity coming off the DL. He's only 1 for 10 in the series.
I don't know how much they'll pay attention to Rizzo. I think it's temporarily they got him kind of.
Boy, Contreras has really been in chase mode on anything outer half and beyond today, as he falls behind 0-1.
He has, and Jay's secondary leads really aggressive off of third, anticipating anything down.
A bouncer up the middle. Arcia puts a glove on it and flips it to second. They get the force, but the Cubs get the run. Once again, it's last licks for the Brewers to the bottom of the 10th, 3-2 Chicago. About the Brewers into their last set of looks down a run. Orlando Arcia sent the game into extra innings with the Brewers down 2-1, a solo home run in the 9th. It'll be Neil Walker, Ryan Braun, and Travis Shaw here in the 10th as Wade Davis continues. And it's 0-2 quickly to Neil Walker. It is rare to see more than one run come across on the line of Wade Davis, but it did happen about a month and a half ago, August 3rd against the Diamondbacks. Arizona got to him on back-to-back home runs from Paul Goldschmidt and J.D. Martinez. And a called strike 3 taken by Neil Walker.
See, Wade Davis mixed it up right there, and I don't know if that messed up Neil Walker, but he didn't do exactly the same thing as well, we didn't see the full thing, but his abbreviated windup and the fastball on the outside part of the plate. We forget that Wade Davis, his journey to this kind of dominant position was not always meant to be.
No doubt.
He was a starter, traded over to Kansas City. It did not work. They tried him in the pen. Here you have it.
Almost a throw-in in that deal. Swingman to begin his career under Joe Madden. Here's Ryan Braun now with one away. Among the things that a lot of the postseason teams are going to have in common, Joe, there aren't a lot of mix and match ninth inning postseason teams that'll be in the party this year. I mean, the big time closers are all going to have a chance to pitch in the postseason. Cody Allen, Chapman, Kimbrel. Ryan Braun into the corner. And on his way into second as the tying run here in the 10th.
I know he hasn't been locked in, but when he can do that and stay on the pitch, he's got that flat swing that stays in the zone, longer kind of, see how flat that is? And he lets the power of Davis get a little deep, and he hits it down the right field line for a double. And Braun knows that Hayward's got a good arm, so he can't take this for granted. And once he gets into that corner, he realizes right about then, all right, we're a hit away. Shaw's got the power. You see the numbers.
Travis has singled and walked today. Brewers hanging on for dear life, hoping to avoid what would be a 4th straight extra innings loss. It's almost unthinkable. Shaw with a big drive out to the opposite field. That one at the fence and gone! And Milwaukee has walked it off! Santa Maria! A first-year player who has been the team's most valuable bat all year long connects on his first ever walk-off hit. It's a 2-run home run that stems the tide of losing extra innings games and keeps Milwaukee's postseason hopes alive.
Well, the power he has, that's the 26th home run against right-handers. In this ballpark, he stays on a breaking ball and goes the other way. You can see the bullpen, such relief. You can see the Brewers with that little heartbeat now. a little bit better moving into tomorrow. That was a must win and a huge comeback.
Milwaukee with a thrilling win at home this afternoon. That's all for us. After a break, we'll send you to West Lafayette for Michigan at Purdue. 4-3 Brewers in Milwaukee today.